So it is the morning of the night before, and the Fed yesterday came out with its new guidance, with its increase in interest rates by 50 basis points. We saw Bitcoin up around 5.5% yesterday. We saw Fantom climbing about 12%, and today, the morning after, we're getting the expected little bit of a cooling off. We've got Bitcoin just flat, down 0.4%. You got Fantom down about percent, nothing given the moves we saw yesterday, and now we're seeing the consolidation pattern start to happen. We're going to look at the charts today. We're going to see what has happened. We've got some interesting data coming through. We've just had the jobless US claims come through literally off the press a minute before I press record. So I'm going to give that to you guys as well. We're going to cover off a whole bunch of macroeconomic elements and look at the key technical patterns we're seeing in both the Bitcoin and Fantom charts. So make sure you sit back, smash up the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. We've also got some critical upcoming events on the Fantom ecosystem. I'm going to be giving you two of those. One of them which is on Friday and the other which is live already, which you have to be aware of. So we're going to cover those off as well. As always, if you like my perspectives, consider checking out the course member live stream. Link below, ijaz.uk/member. Let's get straight into the charts because there's a lot to cover off today. And as you can see, Bitcoin yesterday, before the Fed meeting, started to break out. And if I flip on over to the hourly candles, you'll see that as the day progressed, it started getting a little bit tentative as we waited for Jerome Powell. And then when Jerome Powell started speaking, we got a nice big move all the way up, just getting rejected at 40,000. So it's a nice big move yesterday. Jerome Powell obviously came out and announced a 50 basis point interest rate hike. He decided to take off the table, which was critical, a future 75 basis point interest rate hike, and that is when the market started rallying. For the full breakdown of exactly what was said, go watch my video from last night. I break down fully what was covered off in the statement and also the 1 hour long Jerome Powell press conference where he was asked some interesting questions. Since then, we're getting this consolidation pattern. And guys, you guys should be familiar with this now. Whenever you've had an exhaustive move to the upside from a technical perspective, it's very normal and somewhat healthy to get this consolidation pattern. We saw the same to the downside when we were monitoring the Fantom charts, right? Big move to the downside, a little consolidation, which makes it look like it's going up, and then another move to the downside. So the bulls are still in control at this period, and now the markets are waiting for the stock market to open up. And we've got another hour or so before the main equity markets open up. You can see that the pre-market is indicating that we could be heading slightly down. We've got 0.48 on the Dow futures, 0.6 on the S&P, 0.7 on the Nasdaq. Now that's normal to get a little bit of a cooling off the day after a big rally yesterday. But also there are a few fundamental points to note as well. We got the jobless claim, which came through at 200,000 jobless claims versus the estimate of 180. Okay, so that's again evidence that what Jerome Powell was saying in terms of the labor market being very tight is true. Okay, so it is a high reading, and again giving Jerome Powell more basis to continue to be quite thorough with these increases in interest rates and tightening of monetary policy. But at that point, the market is quite comfortable. We're probably going to expect another 0.5% interest rate hike in the next meeting, and he's rolled off a 75 basis point hike. So that's good for the time being. The other thing which is weighing on markets is the fact that Etsy and eBay yesterday gave some pretty poor guidance for Q2. Remember I said going into earnings season, the guidance is going to affect markets as well. So the markets are now getting a little bit worried, and that's why you're seeing some of the Nasdaq redness here, that perhaps some of the e-commerce plays are going to start to suffer after a nice 2 years during the COVID period. Will they start to see a bit of weakening? So definitely that's something to take into account as well. So that's what the wider market is doing, and Bitcoin is now waiting to see whether it can get ready for its next leg up. We've got a little bit of an RSI reset. You can see this was completely overbought during this period whilst Jerome Powell was speaking, and now it's getting that cooling off, which is perfectly normal before it goes for its move to the upside here. Okay. Now, what are we seeing on Fantom? Because we saw a good move yesterday on Fantom. It feels like a long time ago that we were sitting at the opportunities we had at 65 cents on Fantom, now sitting at 85 cents. So congratulations to any of you who are watching my video and buying the dip at those crazy price points. I mean, you're already 33% up on some of those investments if you're buying at 65 cents versus where we're at now at 85. I mean, you're 20 cents up there. That's a big move to the upside. It really does help out your portfolio when you can start to buy some of these lows. It really does help you bring your cost average down if you were some of those that were buying in at the highs. The good news now we're getting is if I come on over to the daily, what I do want to show you is that we need to get out of this rut. And the fact that we've managed to hold the 85 level is important, but very quickly we need to get to 96. So we need Bitcoin to start working its way through 40,000. And I think if Bitcoin can get to that 42.5 level, which we were monitoring, then there's no reason Fantom can't get to 96 and hold that level. 96 is really important for Fantom. It's the neckline from the cup and handle pattern, which we broke out from in the summer of 2021. This was a very important level. When we broke out from it, we then bounced from it, and it's been an important level there since then for us. So we need to hold back on that level before we can start worrying about recovering back to the upside. If we bring out our EMA ribbon, you can still see we're super well off from here. Okay, we're still very bearish. We can't say that the bulls are in control here on the daily time frame. Not at all. Even if we got to 96, the bears can still reject us off our EMA ribbon. So we don't want to get too excited. You can't really flip your EMA ribbon until you're at least at about 118, 120 range here on Fantom. So a lot of work to do. Bitcoin needs to go on a couple of week rally, and all coins need to start moving to the upside in order for all of our favorite coins to really start reversing the trend on the downturn we've seen this quarter. Really, it's been a rough quarter, but hopefully the market can now say, look, we've got the guidance we need, let's start moving on, right? Jerome Powell said he's done 0.5. We expect another 0.5. We know his balance sheet shrinkage is going to be 45 billion starting from June. What else do we need to know? There's not much uncertainty. Remember, markets hate uncertainty, but we don't have much of that now. Yes, you've got the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Yes, you still have some supply chain issues in terms of China and China's GDP slowing, but these are things we can navigate. That's nothing, out of the norm, and we should be able to figure these things out. So let's also take a look at a few other interesting pieces. And the first one I want to take a look at with you guys is I want to take a look at this. And on the Fantom network, the Tshare BTC liquidity pool is now live. So you guys can now make up a little potion of Tshare and BTC, and you can get some yield on that. So that's really good for the Tomb ecosystem. For those of you who use the Tomb ecosystem or don't, definitely something for you to look into, and really good for the Fantom ecosystem as a whole. Now, the other thing we've got going on is on Friday, we're going to get the launch of the Felix exchange. And again, this has been much anticipated. I've been very open with my course member lives and the people in my Discord that I don't think this is going to have a massive impact on price. But more importantly, longer term, this is good. To have these on-ramps for people to get involved into the Fantom ecosystem is a good thing, and we welcome this, and it's going to be a good thing in the long term. It just goes that Fantom is moving from strength to strength. Will I see this, hike the price up on Friday? You might have some buy the rumor, sell the news going on, so be careful if you're trading on a short-term time frame, but it's not something I'm getting too excited in. Like I said, the market is not in the mood for none of that right now. If the market's in a bull cycle and everything is really exciting, news like this or a developers conference or an announcement can give you a 6 to 7, 8% pump, but not right now. The market's not in the mood for this. It's focused on serious stuff right now. There's no room for this. And it's the same in the equities market. Sometimes in the equities market, if a company announces something or a new product or etc., it's enough to pump. But right now, that's not the case. If you're not delivering good profitability, investors are not interested in you right now. It's back to basics, and it's the same for crypto. Back to basics, back to fundamentals, back to long-term what's right and what's wrong. So yeah, now the other thing I wanted to cover off was this, which is looking at the Fantom versus Solana comparison chart. And the reason I want to do this is whenever you're building out a project or you're investing in a project, you want to look at the competitors, right? Because ultimately you're investing in something like Fantom because you think it could be the next Solana in terms of growing its market cap. We saw the run that Solana went on, made a lot of VCs very, very wealthy indeed. And you look at Solana and its market cap, which is at least 10x Fantom's, and you're like, there's no reason something like Fantom couldn't reach that. Now, in order to aspire to such price action and market cap action, you need to be comparable in terms of the product. And we always monitor the total value locked, and we see that Fantom does a great job in terms of total value locked, and it's super undervalued. But let's also look at the protocols. And when you look at it as a collective, you can see that when you compare the lineups, if we by each of these categories, and shout out to Fantom Daily for putting this graphic together, but when you compare the protocols, you see that Fantom shows no weakness versus Solana. It's just as strong on a protocol level. If you're comparing the AMM and DEXs, for every Radium and Serum or Orca that Solana has, we've got Spooky Swap solidly, you've got Beta, but you've got Spirit Swap, Sushi Swap, you've got strong products on here. And by the way, a lot of this is thanks to the EVM compatibility, right? That's what Fantom did very smartly, is allowed a lot of these projects to bridge across from Ethereum, which gave Fantom such a big head start. They didn't have to build everything natively, which is really, really very impressive. Okay, then when you move on to lending, you can see just as many good protocols here. Geist Finance, Taro, Aave Market, right? You've got the Screen Finance, of course. You've got all these platforms here. Then you've got your bunch of yield aggregators, right? We just spoke about Tomb Finance. You've got Reaper Farm. You've got Liquid Driver. These are great projects. Grim Finance. And a lot of people are really focused on. And in fact, I'd argue, maybe it's just because I'm in the Fantom ecosystem, but I'd argue that many of these projects, pound for pound, are better than the projects on the right-hand side, which are their equal. And then you look at liquid staking. We've had the launch of Stader. You've had Anchor for a while. Again, algorithmically backed stablecoins. Tomb Finance working on their pegging as well. Abracadabra. So you can look at this, and as you go down, you can see bridges. We've got more bridges than Solana. Launchpads were equal in terms of the number of launchpads. Derivatives, we've seen Deuce Finance, obviously, probably not the best project to discuss right now, but obviously they had their slight hacking drama over the last couple of days, but there is a derivative option there. DAOs, and then NFT and gaming, which I'd agree that Solana is head and shoulders above where we're at in terms of Fantom's NFT and gaming space. But again, where Fantom are aware of it. If you've not watched my interview with Simone Pomposi, go watch that. I'm going to link that up because if the CMO, if the Chief Marketing Officer of Fantom is aware of it, then at least we know there's a plan to kind of improve this space. They know it's an opportunity and it's something they want to work on. So yeah, really exciting. I mean, the platform's really heading from strength to strength, and it's important to sometimes just look at the competitors and say, we're not too bad, we're not too far off from it. Now, a few other things I do want to cover off, and in order to cover them off, I'm going to go to my Twitter profile, because I tweeted a couple of things which are really, really important that I want to make sure everybody is understanding. And the first one is this one. And I tweeted, not enough people understand the profoundness of this. And what it is shout out to Documented Bitcoin, great Twitter page. And they share the Fear and Greed Index screenshot of 90, which was when in 2021, Bitcoin was at $38,000. And then they took a screenshot of the Fear and Greed Index when Bitcoin in 2022 was at $38,000. What's the difference? Fear and Greed Index was at Extreme Fear 22. Price is not created equally. This is what's critical. I want everybody to understand this. A lot of people a lot of very new investors in crypto would look at that and say, 38K Bitcoin in 2021, 38K Bitcoin in 2022. It's not going anywhere. It's gone a long way. Adoption's gone a long way. It's hugely progressed, like I've said there. These price points are not the same. The first is 38K at a stretch. Think of your RSI, super oversold, just reaching, just got to 38K. The latter is 38K in its position of weakness at the lows. In other words, Bitcoin, and this is how any equity commodity investment works, is increasing its price floor. Think of NFTs as well. It's gradually increasing its price floor till nobody can touch a Bitcoin at 1,000. You can't get a Bitcoin at 1,000, right? You used to be able to. Then you could never get a Bitcoin at 5. Then you can never get a Bitcoin at 20. Do you really think you're going to get a Bitcoin at 20? There's a very small chance you're going to get another Bitcoin at $20,000. And soon, you'll never get a Bitcoin at 30. We didn't touch 30 this time around, right? People are saying, oh, we're going to head back to 20. But the floor is slowly starting to pick up, right? If 38,000 leads you to extreme fear, how much more of the elastic band can you pull back? It gets very, very difficult, right? Because the floor is lifting. And soon, you'll never be able to get another $40,000 Bitcoin. Then you won't be able to get a $50,000 Bitcoin. And that's how the floor progresses. Now, in the interim, whilst the floor is slowly being picked up, the price can run to 70,000 and then come back down to 40. And then it can run to 80,000 and come back down to 50. But the floor is what's important. Propping that price up over many years, that's the growth we want to focus on. So really important that we understand that. And I think a lot of people, this just goes straight over their heads. Now, the other thing I wanted to discuss, and I tweeted this, I said, read this, and the previous tweet carefully. I think I made a typo there. Right, and what I want to do, he's made it unavailable. Oh, there we go, it's come back, perfect. Let's come over to this, and this is from Income Sharks. Magically, we are going to start hearing a lot of positive news. Why? Because the current US administration needs to increase poll numbers to win the midterm elections. Watch how the media will change its narrative. This is why I've been so bullish. It happens every 4 years. Okay, and then if we go to his other tweet, so why should you care about this? Well, since 1933, we've seen an average return of over 28% for a midterm rally with equities, the lowest being 6% gain. Since stocks and crypto are both related, I expect both to rally. So yes, I'm heavy in Bitcoin. Very important point. Yes, we can look at the macroeconomics, but you need to understand there are other political elements which can come into play as well. When you're coming up to a midterm, you want to keep investor and the heavy pockets, you want to keep them on your side, right? You've got to remember who are donating to these campaigns, who are the campaign donors, who are the people of influence that can help you get reelected. These are people who are invested in equities. invested in crypto. They have mutual funds and pension funds, right? And therefore, you're going to want the markets to be doing well. You can't be going into election when year over year markets have been falling. Everybody's in the red. Everybody's portfolio is down 20, 30%. That's not going to be going well for you. So you will start to see some positive news coming out. No doubt Biden can pull Jerome Powell strings to say, look, no more hawkish comments, keep it dovish, give some positive news to the market, let them rally. These are all the things that politically can start to happen in the background. So it's important we understand that nuance and we're not completely naive to what's going on here. Right, let me check my list just to make sure I'm not missing off anything else that I wanted to cover off today. And I think that is pretty much a wrap. I mean, the next thing we want to make sure we do is just continue to monitor what is happening over the next few days. We've got a few more sets of earnings coming out in the market, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. You've got likes of Shell and Shopify coming out. But from a crypto perspective, we just need the equity markets to decide to rally. They just need to say, you know what, the market, we know what's going on. The Fed have made their viewpoint very clear. Let's go have a couple of weeks of rallying. And if we do see that, we can see Bitcoin continue its breakout to the upside, start to work to 42.5 and then 44.5, which is the neckline from the big wedge which we're monitoring, and then we can start looking at higher price targets. If we continue to break back down into our pattern, then we'll have to remonitor that. But there's no real reason why the market should be spooked now, unless these concerns around inflation continue to exacerbate. We get more news about supply chains blocking up. Companies report more earnings saying that they're struggling with Q2 guidance. But I can't see that being too much of an issue. The majority of companies have already produced earnings, and they've delivered pretty strong earnings. The economy is healthy. Labor market is healthy. Inflation is high for a reason. And if the markets can understand that and stop having a tantrum around some of these interest rates, I think we could be set for a nice rally to the upside. So there you go, guys. There is a quick, well, not quick, but an update on Bitcoin and Fantom and a blend between the technicals and fundamentals. I'll come back with another update later on today once we've seen how the market is trading, but this is just to get you guys started so you know what is going on in the markets. If you appreciate my perspective, consider checking out the course member live streams, ijaz.uk/member. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to link the video to the Andre Cronje video, which if from a couple of days ago, if you've not seen it, you have to go watch that, because he has some very, very important things to say about the Fantom ecosystem and project. I'm also going to link up the Simone Pomposi interview, which we did here on this channel with Simone Pomposi. So make sure you go and check that out. As always, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.